Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Okay, so be honest. Have you ever felt like your thoughts or maybe the answers you get back from an AI are just kind of muddy, like something got lost in translation? Well, if so, you are in exactly the right place today. We are going to be entirely focused on structured thinking. We're diving into a brilliantly elegant framework that's specifically designed to take those messy, spontaneous thoughts of yours and transform them into incredibly precise actions. It's called the Shakeela Begum Protocol, and I'm telling you, it's going to completely change the way you structure your questions.
So here's the big question. How do we actually stop cognitive autopilot? I mean, think about your day-to-day life for just a second. How often do you just throw a vague, half-baked instruction at a chatbot, or hand a really ambiguous task to a coworker, or even jot down a super vague to-do list for yourself? We do this literally all the time. We just operate on this default mode, and by doing that, we're setting up a massive problem before we've even begun the actual work. Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. We're going to cover escaping cognitive autopilot, the Shakeela Begum Protocol itself, the 3 reflective steps, seeing it all in action, practical uses across different domains, and finally, the future of the framework. Section 1. Escaping cognitive autopilot. Because to fix our outputs, we really got to fix our inputs first. So, what is cognitive autopilot? Well, it's that automatic, totally unreflective way we humans just naturally formulate our initial questions. And honestly, this automatic thinking is the absolute enemy of clarity. When we just blurt out an instruction, we're accidentally baking in hidden constraints. We create ambiguity out of thin air. What we really need is a sort of pre-processing layer for our own brains, a way to catch our mental blind spots before we hit send, before we speak, or before we start working. Moving right along to Section 2, the Shakeela Begum Protocol. Let's look at how we actually pre-process those thoughts.
Now, what's really fascinating about this, and maybe a bit surprising, is that this framework wasn't cooked up by some software engineer in a Silicon Valley lab. No way. It was actually formulated by a Pakistani haikuist named Yasir Farooq in July 2025, and it's a tribute to his late mother, Shakeela Begum. I just love that. In a world full of these hyper-sterile tech tools, this is an elegant, highly accessible, and deeply human tribute that's literally designed to bring clarity to the world.
So what exactly is it? Well, the Shakeela Begum Protocol, or SBP for short, is a 3-step reflective prompting framework. Its whole job, its entire purpose, is to restructure your initial instructions into a much clearer cognitive sequence. It quite literally forces better reasoning. Think of SBP as like a mini self-audit. And the best part is it works perfectly across different languages and skill levels to produce deeper, really insight-focused responses, whether you're talking to a machine or a real human being. All right, Section 3, the 3 reflective steps. This is the core engine of the whole thing. The framework runs on a really strict 1-2-3 sequence. Step 1 is negation. Step 2 is interrogation. And step 3 is affirmation. By forcing your prompt through this very specific flow, you naturally interrupt your brain's lazy default settings. Let's break down how each step actually works. Step 1, negation. Now, what's really interesting here is that this means taking your original prompt and converting it into a don't statement. The psychology behind this is just fascinating. Starting with a negative is a deliberate cognitive interrupt. It forces the mind, or an AI model for that matter, to clearly interpret the boundaries and constraints of the problem before it even tries to generate a solution. It stops those bad habits dead in their tracks. Okay, so once you've established what you won't do, you move right into step 2, interrogation. Basically, you turn the prompt into a question. Because you've already hit the brakes on that cognitive autopilot with negation, interrogation forces you to dig into what you actually want to know. It basically guarantees introspection. This is where you surface those hidden assumptions you probably didn't even realize you had, which totally refines your analytical path moving forward. And finally, we hit step 3, affirmation. This is where you respond with a really thoughtful, constructive answer based on what you just did in the first 2 steps. This is the synthesis. It brings together your boundaries and your refined questions into a rigorous, stable, and highly grounded instruction. You've essentially just run your thought through a heavy-duty filtration system. Section 4, SBP in action. Let's take all this theory and put it into practice, shall we? Take a super common question like, how do I improve my writing? We've all been there, right? It's incredibly relatable, but let's be real, it's messy. It's super vague. This is pure cognitive autopilot. If you ask an AI this, you are absolutely going to get a generic, useless listicle. If you ask a human, they probably won't even know where to start.
So let's run it through the protocol.
Here is the step-by-step transformation. First, negation. We convert it to a boundary. Don't write without clarity or a plan. Bam. Second, interrogation. We dig deeper. What specific part of my writing actually needs improvement? And finally, affirmation, the synthesized answer. Focus on structure, feedback cycles, and consistent practice. Look at that. We just took a vague anxiety and turned it into a hyper-precise roadmap.
Just look at that before and after. The contrast is literally night and day. That original prompt was weak. It was completely open-ended. But the SBP affirmation, which acts as what the framework calls a 3-step reflective response, is robust, it's actionable, and it is crystal clear. You can instantly see how much better your results are going to be when you start with that second sentence.
Section 5, practical uses across domains, because this goes way beyond just prompt engineering.
While this framework is obviously amazing for dealing with language models, its practical uses are incredibly diverse. SBP is so versatile. In education, it helps students structure exam responses. In creative writing, it helps authors frame up character conflict. In AI, it actually acts as a modular reasoning primitive that actively reduces hallucinations by forcing boundary analysis. You can use it in management for project planning or, and I love this one, even for therapy-style personal journaling to clarify your own values.
So the crucial takeaway here is that SBP functions as a universal cognitive lens. It applies to pretty much any domain where clarity actually matters. It's this beautiful framework that is lightweight enough to use every single day when you're just typing up an email, yet it's rigorous enough to be embedded right into formal AI research environments.
Section 6, the future of SBP. Let's look at where this continuous evolution is heading next. Tracing its timeline, you can see it started in July 2025 with Yasir Farooq's original version 1.0 formulation. It very quickly saw integration as an AI reflective prompting tool, which led right into its official GitHub-ready documentation release in November 2025. And, looking ahead to version 2.0, the roadmap plans for SVP to become a major multi-layer reasoning framework, complete with plugin modules designed specifically for AI pipelines, educational software, and complex decision-making tools. And that brings us to the end, but I want to leave you with one final provocative question. How are you going to use SBP to break your own cognitive autopilot today? Seriously, the very next time you sit down to write an email or plan a project or prompt an AI, I challenge you to just pause. Run your thought through negation, interrogation, and affirmation. Discover those hidden constraints, ask the real questions, and just see how much clearer your world becomes. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer.